Hi, hello there. It's John Binnie. Well, here I am driving home, and good news, I cleaned my windscreen, so the view should be a little bit nicer than it was in the drive here. So if you missed my previous video, or maybe it didn't upload and I'll have to be uploading it, um, is that we did our Swedish massage training today. We, as in me and the rest of the class, and it was really lovely. We had clients come in, and so these are members of the public to come in and for us to really, it's like a rehearsal. This was a final rehearsal for our qualifying assessment, practical assessment, which is at the towards the end of May. So that's exciting, and it was really heartwarming because my tutor said to me after they assessed me for my practice run, they said that I did a near perfect treatment, which was lovely. It was they said it was. If it was the assessment, they would have given me 100%. It's like, oh, wow. And then they just said, and as you're doing the only tip they could offer is I'm doing the trapezius, the traps, which are the muscles at the top. Well, they go right across the back of your body like a cape, but they also go up over the shoulders, and they're just giving me some advice there. So that was really lovely. And I wanted to talk to you on the way back about just a continued theme about what people think of, like why do we care about what people think of us, but to also talk about other lifetimes, because this has been a really big influence on my life, is past life woundings around like sharing the whole of me. But it's also a theme for many of my clients, and the reason that's important to share, or one of the reasons it's important to share, is because so many people suffer from expressing their truth, especially sharing like their whole psychic gifts, their magic abilities, because they have been persecuted for it in previous lives. Now, it's easy for us to have a kind of recency bias, if you like, to that data point, in that often our most recent past lives, need the most attention because they're the, and I say most recent, like maybe the last 5 or 6, or maybe even 10 past lives, because often you're still working through patterns, right? Your soul's saying, oh, we're not quite done yet with being scared of being called a witch, or being scared of being called a psychic, or fully being our authentic self, and so the soul will choose in an incarnation, and the path ahead of it, experiences that will help the soul face those fears and bring an end to those loops. And by loops, I mean karmic loops, where you just keep repeating something until it's finally done. A cycle, yeah, cycle's better. Karmic cycle sounds better than loop. So I should talk about some of my experiences of being worried about like coming out as my full self, as the full F-U-L-L, the full John Binnie. So the first is, I was scared of calling myself psychic, and it was really tough. Before my awakening, I spent years and years watching ghost, paranormal shows and ghost hunting. And for what it's worth, I don't recommend ghost hunting. by all means, safely communicate with ghosts, but hunting them, goading them, provoking them, especially when you don't know if it's really a passed on human or a demon or whatever it is, that it's really important to just do these things safely and respectfully, right? I wouldn't want a ghost hunting me, and I wouldn't want to hunt a ghost. Anywho, I'll get off my my high horse about ghost hunting and my lessons I've learned about that. But it helps give you some context, like in these paranormal shows, they'd often have like a psychic, maybe even two sometimes, but they definitely have one psychic. And I just felt like psychics were a different breed almost of human, and I would put them on a pedestal, right? And I was fascinated by it. I remember this. I won't share their names; it's not particularly relevant. But I remember one show I liked in particular. Is one of the UK paranormal shows, and one of their psychics, I remember, would always talk to their same spirit guide, and it was just fascinating, hearing them talk to their spirit guide and what the spirit guide seemed to know. It seemed like this otherworldly knowledge, which fascinated me, that this human had access to a being who could answer questions, beyond our comprehension, including about they could see them in other dimensions, right? And then the other really fascinating aspect is, sorry, I was just pausing there and remembering my lack of understanding about dimensions, or should I just say naivety about dimensions. And now that I understand it, it makes so much more sense about ghosts. Anywho, let's just say that I idolized psychics, and I felt that my belief system was that they were born like that. Maybe even if they developed their abilities later in life, that it was something in their DNA, in their genes, their genomes. So when it came to, I never thought for a minute that I was psychic. Like I never thought that. And yet, when I look back, especially, so I'm talking about an age of like between my 30s and 20s and 30s, right? But before then, I did have experiences, right? With ghosts. And from a young age, I could see shadow figures. I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, some of those experiences when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7. I also remember seeing ghosts, like full-bodied apparitions. Right, I think one of the last ones I saw around that time was when I was about 17. And then I also had dreams, like I'd had a dream about my dog, or my family dog that had died. Jess, she came back to me in a dream. I had other experiences too, but that was just really fascinating to me. But I just didn't think I was psychic. And I used to identify it as a type of person, and I think that's some of the fear that's still embedded within the label of psychic, right? Is that it defines the person, whereas I don't feel it does now. In fact, I often feel the most comfortable describing my work as psychic work, because I'm not like constantly thinking psychically about everything, right? It would be I would find it quite ungrounding to be difficult to connect with this physical world if my mind and my consciousness was always in the ethers. So just like driving a vehicle, you can ask your spirit guides all about it, but they're not going to be able to help you drive very easily. You could have a chat with them to keep you awake, though. What else? Yeah, so in my journey, I really struggled for the first few years. In my last video, I spoke about a 5-year time frame of doing energy healings for people online. That was, I've been speaking to my spirit guides it's been since November 2017. And the reason I give that reference is, what if you're watching this video in many weeks and years' time? You'll know how long it's been, like daily talking to them. And it took me 900 days. Like, I remember it as plain as it is dull outside. And it's that I just really struggled with being able to consciously accept that I developed at least one psychic ability to talk to my spirit guides and receive messages every day, and then take those messages and turn them into songs. And what was good was that because I was speaking them out loud, because I was creating songs, it was actually the process of creating songs that I then realized that it seemed very unlikely, highly probable, and maybe impossible for John and John alone to have written 900 songs, because I also realized at that point it was never going to stop. Like, I was never going to run out of songs. I was never going to run out of messages from my guides. 900 was enough for me to know that it never ends. And for you listening to this, and you can try my free spirit guide meditation challenge for 14 days. Like, that taught me that it's all possible within about a 14-day period, which is wonderful, right? Because that's when I started my journey. I asked to see them initially, which kind of slowed things down a bit because I just focused on seeing them, and I realized actually I don't want to see you. I'd rather talk and start with messages. So that was my first integration point, right? And up until then, I would tell people that I meditated every day. I'd tell my friends and family. I do remember someone asking me at work when I was at Amazon, and this is someone that's since left, but one of the designers, Reg, was asking me, and I was telling him, I'm still writing songs every day, and he always loved me playing the cover Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol, which I still love. It's a fantastic song. And what I found was that there was just this really fascinating journey of telling people. So I told him, because I was really nervous at work sharing this, about spirit guides and things. So I just said, I meditate each day, and when I meditate, I just ask for messages for my song lyrics, and then I turn that into a song. And Reg, my colleague, said, that's fantastic. So you're really tapping into these other aspects of yourself or into the universe, and you're able to create songs like that. It's fabulous. And I really love that. It's just something so fascinating about our associations with things like spirit guides, that it is somehow exclusively spiritual, and that it requires an almost spiritual or religious belief system to support the notion of spirit guides. And yet, we do sometimes talk about guardian angels, or sometimes guides turn up in movies. I remember in one of the Simpsons movies, in fact, to this day, it's when the Simpsons go to Alaska, and I think Homer has to find his way back to Springfield from Alaska, and he asks this woman is doing a ceremony for him, but she keeps turning up as his spirit guide, and that really fascinated me. That it's one example of us believing we have guides or that we can be guided. So that was just lovely to experience. So when you share, like just sharing a little bit, like even just saying you meditate each day, like starting and meeting people at the right, at their understanding is a huge thing, right? Because as soon as you introduce a new concept to someone, you can't just like keep going with the conversation without explaining it. So I don't just say, if someone asks me, what do I do? I don't just say, oh, I'm psychic. Right, I'll just say what I do. I'll say, oh, well, sometimes clients want me to help them connect with passed over loved ones. Sometimes they want me to help them connect to their spirit guides. Sometimes they want me to help them with their past lives healings or future readings, like connect into the Akashic records or go in a portal through space and time and connect with their future selves. Like all these things. And it's hugely powerful, right? To just say what it is. I think that's a top tip for sharing the whole of yourself, is just meet people, where they're at. And some of this also include like conversations with my loved ones, right? They're like, John, suddenly you're describing yourself as psychic. Are you saying you're psychic? And I remember some family members saying, oh, but there's a lot of fraudsters out there. A lot of people just make this stuff up, and that it's a scam, right? That they're just scamming people. And what they did say to me was, but just can't imagine you scamming people. I'm sure whatever you're doing is, trustworthy and honorable. And I said, the way I explained it was, I can't describe in our modern language, in English language, how the work I do, such as connecting with people's spirit guides and helping them with past lives, without describing that work as psychic. And you can use all the and you will see this, right? And because I know it, because I used to do it. A lot of people will describe all their services without using the word psychic, because it has like a bad reputation, or they're just scared of it from their own traumas in this life or past lives. And I remember talking about this with another practitioner, and it's actually Natasha and I did. Her name is Aura Universe. We did a podcast with her, and it was really fascinating because she was she did check my Instagram profile, I think, before we did the podcast, and she wanted to check, having had a session with me months ago, or maybe almost a year prior to that I used the word psychic in my profile, and I did, in fact, but it hadn't been there long, right? And I'm not saying everyone that does similar work, or that everyone has to, even if they do psychic work, that you have to describe it as that. You don't. You can describe it how you want, right? It's your free will. What I would recommend is that if you have fear about describing yourself as something, when actually it feels very true to you, then that fear is trying to guide you to some healing that you need to fix. You still get to choose, right? You still get to choose what you call yourself, or if anything. And I think labels aren't massively helpful, but it can be, hugely important. So fast forward to, I think it's September 2023, and I was in meditation training. So I was meditation teacher training for 5 days in Edinburgh, and after every meditation, I cried in front of the class of about 14 women and myself, and the teacher. I cried because I would end the meditation by saying, I'm crying because I'm psychic, and it's time I just called myself that. Like, I just accept that is me, and that I share that with the world. You know, I'm just true and honest about it. And that was a huge thing for me. Like, here were, you know, they're all strangers to me. They were lovely friends towards the end. What do you mean towards the end? Throughout the training course, and it was fascinating because even very sadly the teacher lost their auntie, who was like a mother to them, during the training, and they asked me to connect with her and do like a little session with them in a lunchtime on the second last day, and that was huge for me to do some mediumship. And lots of other powerful experiences happened during that time as well. And wow, some event catering going past, almost like a movie. What do you call it? Like a convoy of supporting bands for a movie that's being filmed or something. You never know. So that was a big thing, and I began to realize there was a lot of past life wounding I needed to heal. And luckily, I guess for me, some of that wounding had happened in the area that I live, including, and then subsequent to that, there was the town. You know, I went to, was it 2.5 months? I did a placement at a hospice at St. Columbus Hospice doing reflexology, and there was a lot of interest from others in my psychic work, and then that started, like I would just tell people that. I would say, oh, most of my work is online doing psychic work, and then I also do this work. And it was those clients, or one client in particular, who encouraged me to really follow up and to blend the service to create the psychic reflexology. I mean, they asked for it, and then having a service called psychic reflexology was really, really helpful. Like it just brought me to a situation where I could, like, if you have a service that's called psychic, and someone asks what you do, they say, oh, it's a psychic service. It requires my psychic abilities. And then, you know, I did have some rough experiences, like, you know, some places did not want me to practice. Some local establishments wouldn't want me to practice such kind of woo-woo or witchy or out there services at their premises, which I think is not very inclusive. But, you know, they get to choose who their customers are, just like I guess we all do when we run a business. But I would love to think that in the future they'd be more open-minded, and I do feel like they missed out. It seems naive to somehow think that we know everything with our still relatively limited modern Western medical science. You know, arguably it knows a lot less than our ancient practices that go back thousands of years. And I think that concept of lost knowledge is fascinating. I was watching a video about that recently, just on YouTube last night, about, you know, there's a lot of beliefs that we are a human race that forgets. Like, we've forgotten how to build pyramids if it was humans that built it. We've forgotten how to the real meaning and I guess science, even though it's ancient science, behind things like reflexology and like the foot massage. and yet we teach, people teach it now, and we can do it, and we can see it has a beneficial effect, but we don't fully understand all the details. And I know I've done it in past lives, for sure. I've performed these practices because I have those memories of doing it in different past lives. And then, talking of past lives, I also found it difficult walking around the streets, dressed in all black. That's what I'm wearing right now. Here I am, hello, in all black, in my black top and black jeans, and this is my uniform. And it's quite funny because for me, it's quite a cool uniform, because it's what we're asked to wear when we're doing like doing my massage training and assessments. It's also great for psychics, right? It's always it has this air of mystery behind it, right? That represents the darkness within us, but also tangibly. If you ever wonder why I love wearing my black hoodie with John Binnie written on it, is because black absorbs energy just like it absorbs heat much easier. So if you want to, increase your sensitivity, black is fantastic for that. White blocks it, right? So just like white, like in the Mediterranean, the houses, hot countries, their houses are painted white, and that's to reflect the sun, to reflect the energy. So there's a fun tip for you. What else? It's funny how this car in front of me, it looks small in the camera, but the car in front looks so much like a police car, but it's a doctor's car. And past life healings, maybe like many of us, watching this video, I've been, hunted, drowned, hung, burned, tortured. Like, there's just a never-ending list of challenges that we've had. And I think some of I'm just reflecting a bit on the more raw or recent traumas that I've been working through with past lives, and they're definitely been like, I can only describe it more like something like the Hunger Games, right? Almost exactly like the Hunger Games, where I have memories, and it's right next to where I live, and that I think also makes me uncomfortable, is having groups of people hunt you like you're a deer or fox in a large walled estate, so that you can't escape, and it not just being a physical hunting, but also metaphysical, so dark negative entities also after you, and that is just horrible, right? But I can see now, especially as I reflect on the years of having lived next to the same woods where I was hunted. I still live next to them, but just a little bit further away. Like, I'm just, if you ever notice my videos, like 2 or 3 minutes walk away. So you're not really in earshot of what goes on in there. But whenever I would hear groups of people in there, it would terrify me. And I was like, why is this? And it was so powerful that I had to go through that to experience it again. And for quite some time, like a good at least 2 years, touching 3 years, we went through all these people were burning fires, having fights, taking drugs, setting fire to aerosol cans that were exploding. Sometimes hundreds of them will all be gathered in the woods right next to my house, or in crowds right outside my house, and inexplicably, right, there was nothing interesting about my house other than it was the end of the street. Why they'd be standing outside, I don't know why they wanted to congregate there specifically, other than they could hide in the woods and do things that are less visible for the rest of the public. But it was fascinating to see my reaction. I had such heightened fear for a long time, but now, and this is years later, right? We're now 3 years later, 3 or 4 years later. So this did happen during my awakening, or after my awakening. But there was so much healing, like so much of it seemed to be in part. I had to, in part, like put up with it, like just almost like experience the trauma. Some mornings I would, well, actually it happened quite a lot. I'd say at least once a week, maybe twice a week, because these parties and kind of riots that would happen in the woods next to my house, they would sometimes go on all night, and then sometimes people would sleep in the woods, and then in the morning they'd be waking up, and I don't know, it sounded like they were just chatting, maybe smoking cigarettes or whatever. But so when I went into my studio, or music studio, to do my song in the morning, they would be just outside my studio chatting, feeling a bit hungover and sorry for themselves, and wondering what they'd tell their parents or their girlfriend or whoever they'd been away from. And this is like me, and it would trigger me, right? And I'd be like so triggered. I'd be like, these people, there's just no, so these behaviors, there's no limit to them, right? And sometimes the police would be after them or chasing them, or anyway, the short of it is that even when I was going into my studio and writing a song every day and being happy, high vibe John, I was facing these triggering fears at the same time. And now I understand why. It seems that it was important for me to just get on with it, like to feel the fear and keep going, and without losing my sensitivity or hardening me, right? And I never wanted that either. So that helped prepare me a lot. And if you're wondering how to face your past life fears, I'd recommend, booking a hidden witch moon session with me or someone else. Finding out, feeling into, like if you're experienced enough of remembering some of your past life memories, like when you receive them, say them out loud, even if you're not sure if it's a past life memory or you're just making up some story. Like just say it out loud or write it down, and then reflect on it. Like I frequently reflect on these memories, more latterly, as being like chased and hunted by groups of people, and probably dogs as well. They're definitely there as well. It was just, and it's fascinating my reaction to that. I don't know if you can tell by the tone of my voice or my energy, but I'm largely done with it, right? I'm almost there. I feel some of the next steps will be just spending a bit more time in the woods. So if you're seeing me spending more time in the woods, say, well done, John, you're doing it. You're facing some of those fears. I think that's also why I project a bit of these fears onto Patch being attacked. I mean, it does happen, it is real, but he loves the woods, right? And even though dogs, he's small, but his little doggy behaviorisms are quite aggressive towards other dogs, and they get a bit scared of him, and he often quite quietly growls. And so to the humans involved, we often looks like the big bad dog is like somehow barking at or trying to bite the little cute dog, but actually Patch isn't perfect either, right? His behaviors aren't perfect, but I love him. I don't blame him. I just see it as a character trait. And he'll feed off my energy, right? Like if I'm in a fear state, he probably will make him more aggressive, because he can feel me. He can feel. We spend a lot of time together, and we're both very energetically sensitive. So yeah, that's definitely something for me to keep in mind. But yeah, I absolutely love him. So yeah, I would recommend, if there's something that you're scared of. I remember also being scared of speaking dragon-like language. I mean, if people didn't think I was nuts, right, then speaking dragon-like language in front of many people can like really surprise them. And it is, I seem to have a very natural ability for it. This these big open throat roars, which I just love. It's very freeing and liberating, and even just saying those things and expressing a little bit of dragon-like language felt really lovely. You know, his intention was just to give you some examples of the tones and energy, and it's coming from me. It's not, I didn't channel it from some other being or from my guide. It's to explain some of my soul origins, as well as being angelic, are also being having dragon lineage as well. So these are the things that are important to share whenever you feel maybe a little bit, especially a little bit shame to begin with about it, and then you might feel a bit of fear or nervousness, anxiety. Then just hold space for that. It's a shadow, right? So treat it like a problem, a shadow, and say, okay, I have fear of this for a reason. Why am I scared? We're very good at, if you're anything like me, very good at like avoiding, you know, fearful situations. Like maybe you've got a fear of parallel parking in your car, you know, where you drive alongside another vehicle that's stationary, and then you reverse into a space. That these things can be nerve-wracking, right? But the more you do it, the better you get. Oh, it's just turned 64222 on my camper van, so 64,222 miles. That's lovely. And I used to also avoid Facebook quite a lot because I had a lot of friends and family on there, and some of them weren't always the kindest, or they were just concerned, like genuinely concerned. It's like, John's talking about love and spirit guides and all this stuff, and then, you know, sometimes they'd be talking about me to each other, or they'd be saying this to my family members. And the way I just approach it now is, if someone is, I don't care what relationship they have to me or connection they have to me, if their behavior isn't acceptable, I'll block them. And it can be a bit ruthless, right? But it's just like, well, I don't, you know, badmouth them about what they do, or somehow accuse them of being any worse than me or any better than me. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I feel grounded. But I was reflecting today, I'm not sure I've ever felt so happy and healthy and rested in a long time, like years. I feel really good. Good balance of sleep, you know, fun and exercise. So yeah, feeling good. And so it's not very fair to, you know, to just pick on me and give me a hard time about something. That's a boundary for me. And if you don't show me respect, then I'll just draw a line and say, well, you're not for me. And I think that's a big thing about it as well, right? Sometimes we're scared of saying, well, if I come out, for instance, as being psychic, how would my partner feel about that? Or some of my best friends, would I lose them? And you've got to ask yourself, are they friends worth keeping? You know, if you do this work and it feels good, or whatever it is you do, maybe you're a mechanic, you're coming out as a mechanic. If it feels good to you, and it feels like it fills you with joy, and you love doing it, then be proud of being you. You know, this universe is designed for us all to be unique. and for us all to experience things differently and to have free will choice. So anything that tries to constrain you or compromise in that, be tough with it, right? Say, hang on, I'm equal. I'm equal to you, and we all get to decide. It would be horrible if we're all exactly the same, or somehow there were boundaries on what we could and couldn't call ourselves. And I must admit, I did catch Meta, Facebook, the other day. I tried to update my my business or my job title or something to psychic. It wouldn't let me do it. It just said that's not an accepted job title. So they're like, I'm guessing because they want to discourage, people from supposedly scamming other people under the guise of being psychic. But like, that is rough, right? Like, can you imagine how popular they would be if they said maybe CEO or director was banned as a word? I think it's shocking that they don't allow you to describe yourself as psychic. But they have a free will choice to do that, whether it's fair or not. And I had a free will choice to be a customer of theirs or not. But yeah, I think this is all. I'm not sure how long the term psychic will survive, because I feel like I'd love it to just become, if everyone was psychic, we perhaps would no longer call ourselves psychic. We would just do, like, it'd be a behavior. And I feel that's at the core of it, right? It's like we would just be, we would just say we're psychically connecting with someone, or psychically doing a thing. It's like, oh, how did you talk to Ben yesterday? Oh, I talked to him psychically. You wouldn't have to say in the future, oh, so just so you know, I'm psychic and I telepathically connect with other people and blah blah blah. Like, everyone just knows it's something you can do if you want to, and you can learn how to do it if you want to, and you can practice it. So yeah, I think that's really a really beautiful future for us. Anywho, thank you so much for driving with me. If you'd like me to cover specific topics in upcoming videos, whether it's these driving videos or anything else, just let me know. But it's really lovely to help you on your journey. I hope these videos help. And if you're psychic, why not say in the comments that, yeah, I'm psychic? Or if there's a thing that you feel you are and you really want to come out, why don't you say it in the comments? Anyway, thank you so much. Signing my love from Scotland. Love you.